Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we're jumping into a topic that is totally shaking up how we design, build, and even manage our buildings. We're talking about building information modeling, or as pretty much everyone calls it, BIM. And you're about to see why it's way, way more than just a fancy 3D model.
So let me just start by asking you this. What if you could build an entire project, flaw-free, before a single shovel ever hits the dirt? What if you could find every single conflict, coordinate every trade, and basically get it perfect in the digital world first? It sounds a little like sci-fi, right? But that's the real power and the whole promise behind BIM.
All right, so let's get the biggest misconception out of the way right now. When most people hear BIM, they think of a 3D computer model. But you know what? That's kind of like saying a car is just a metal box. You're completely missing the engine, the electronics, the whole system that actually makes it work. The reality of BIM is so much cooler.
And here's the key. You've got to understand that BIM isn't a piece of software you buy. It's a process. It's a structured, collaborative way of working that's all about creating and managing information. And not just for the design phase, but for the entire life of the building, from the first sketch, through construction, all the way to its demolition, maybe decades down the line. This right here explains it perfectly. On the left, you've got your standard 3D model. It's just shapes, geometry. It shows you what a wall looks like. But on the right, in a BIM model, that wall isn't just a shape anymore. It's a smart object. It's connected to a database that knows its material, its fire rating, how much it costs, who made the drywall, even when its warranty is up. It's geometry plus a whole lot of really useful data. So how does all of this information actually get created and managed without turning into total chaos? Well, it all follows a very clear digital journey, a structured workflow that guides the project from start to finish. It's like a roadmap that makes sure all that valuable info is created and used in the right way at the right time. Okay, so it kicks off with strategy. This is where you define the goals and figure out exactly what information the client needs. That's the EIR. Next up is the brief, where the team creates the project's rulebook, the BIM Execution Plan, or BEP. Then you hit the design phase. All the different teams, architects, engineers, you name it, build their own models, and they're all layered together digitally. During construction, that combined model becomes the master guide for scheduling and building. And finally, at handover, the client gets this incredible digital twin of their building, the Asset Information Model, or AIM, which is a goldmine for managing the facility for years. But wait, how does everyone, all these different companies, stay on the same page? The magic ingredient is something called the Common Data Environment, or CDE. Just think of it as the project's central, secure digital library. Every file, every model, every drawing lives here. It becomes the one and only source of truth, which means no more confusion and no more working off of outdated plans. It's a game changer. Now, as you can probably guess, a process this detailed doesn't just happen by itself. It's a total team sport, and it requires a few key players with very specific skills. So let's meet the people who actually make this whole BIM process work. All right, so you've got the BIM manager, who's like the head coach, overseeing the grand strategy. Then there's the BIM coordinator, the hands-on problem solver. They're the ones running clash detection, which is where the computer finds every spot a pipe is trying to run through a steel beam before it becomes a huge, expensive problem on site. The information manager is the gatekeeper for the CDE, making sure all the data flows correctly. And of course, the BIM modelers are the ones actually building those detailed 3D models for their specific fields. Okay, so you have all these people from different companies creating massive amounts of data. How in the world do you keep it all organized and prevent it from becoming a total mess? Well, you need a common language. You need a set of rules that everyone agrees to play by. And that's where international standards are absolutely crucial. And in the world of BIM, the rulebook is called ISO 19450. This is the big one. It's the international standard for managing information on a construction project using BIM. It's what allows teams from all over the world to collaborate on a single project and have it all just work. The principles behind it are actually pretty simple, but they're incredibly powerful. First, it requires that single source of truth we talked about, the CDE. It also says everyone's role has to be clearly defined. It even gets into things like consistent file naming, which sounds boring, but trust me, it's a lifesaver. And it uses these simple status codes like work in progress or published, so you always know if the drawing you're looking at is ready to go or if it's still being worked on. But here's a key technical hurdle. Your architect might be using one type of software, while your structural engineer is using a totally different one. How do you get their models to talk to each other? The answer is using open formats. The biggest one is called IFC, and you can basically think of it as a PDF but for 3D models. It's a neutral format that lets anyone open and use the model's information, no matter what program it was originally made in. It's a universal translator. Okay, we've covered the what, the how, the who, and the rules of the game. So now let's put all these pieces together and walk through how this actually plays out on a real-world project. So, picture a new office building project. It all starts when the client issues their info requirements. The BIM manager gets the digital hub, the CDE, all set up. As the design progresses, the BIM coordinator is running those clash reports every single week, finding hundreds of potential issues and fixing them in the model instead of on the job site. That alone saves an unbelievable amount of time and money. Then, during construction, that model is used to plan the schedule, that's 4D BIM, and to track the budget, which is 5D. Finally, the owner gets the keys along with a complete, data-rich digital twin of their building to help them manage it for the next 50 years. So really, if you remember one thing from all of this, let it be this. BIM was never about just making prettier 3D drawings. It's about using connected, intelligent information to make smarter, faster, and better decisions at every single stage of a building's life. And that kind of leaves us with a really fascinating thought to end on. As we head into a future where every single building has its own detailed digital story, from the moment it's conceived to the day it comes down, the big question is, who gets to write that story? Who's the author? It really makes you think, doesn't it?